Hello and welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I am Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. If you want to learn how to support the channel and its mission to normalize atheism and deconversion, stay tuned to the end of the video. Today I'm restarting actually, a series of videos I had been doing a long time ago where I was analyzing the life of Christ. In that series, I was pretty much focused only on two questions. Does the account actually, even in the four Gospels, have or three witnesses that the Bible itself requires for every fact to be established? Deuteronomy 17:6 and 19:15 kind of indicate this idea that in order to have law, according to the old biblical law, that you had to have two or three witnesses to establish every single fact. Do the Gospels actually do that? Does the Bible meet its own criteria, was my first question. The second question, though, was, a little bit more micro instead of macro, like do the whole four Gospels do this? But the second question, does each individual story in the life of Christ have a fulfillment of this requirement? For example, does the feeding of the 5,000 really actually have two or more witnesses to it? What about the Annunciation of Mary, of the birth of Jesus? Does that have two or three witnesses to that event itself? Does the resurrection actually have two or three witnesses that actually agree about what happened? I also tried to add a little bit of commentary back in that series, but I felt at the end it was kind of hit or miss, and it became a problematic issue for me. This time I want to make sure that parts of this are more a focus of the study. What was the agenda of the gospel writers? And does this influence what they included and why they undercut their credibility at times by what they include, or do they do that at all? Do the teachings of Christ, his miracles, etc., actually prove the claims of Christianity or Jesus himself? Were the teachings of Christ even good teachings? Does Jesus actually prove that he was the Son of God himself? Or do the teachings of Jesus have any value at all in proving this? The list goes on and on and on, and I want to make sure that this time that this is more of a focus of the study. I want to talk about the witnesses issue. That's a focus of this study called Questionable Witnesses. But I also want to talk about the questionable nature of everything else that's in these stories. So let's, we're going to really deep dive that issue. So I'm kind of restarting this series on the life of Christ. I'm going to go right back to the beginning, but I'm going to shorten up the introductory material. And in fact, I'm going to make it part of the study, like wherever time there's stuff that comes up and, okay, is there a cultural thing? Is there something that they used to do in the ancient world from a technology point of view? Anything that kind of comes up, particularly related to culture and religion of the Jews in some cases. I'm pretty much doing what I did 7 or 8 times, or I don't remember. I did it a lot in my ministry where I'm attempting to harmonize the 4 gospel accounts and make them make sense. But now I kind of want to show why that's a failed project and why it can't succeed, why that didn't happen for me. You see, I really do want to push some of you over the edge about the idea of the Gospels being 4 witnesses, okay? Because I don't think they are, and I think I can demonstrate that. Because what I discovered in teaching the life of Christ as a believer is that they are really not 4 witnesses. In fact, many stories only have 1 witnesses or are just a repeat or a copying of somebody else's witness. The fact that they are or stand as 3 or 4 witnesses doesn't really help because maybe they just don't meet that biblical criteria. And also, we're looking for other witnesses, historical corroboration of any of the events, and we're going to find very few, if any at all. And a large part of my deconversion was due to the fact that I had always had this hero worship of Jesus Christ. But then I began to realize that Jesus Christ and a lot of the things that are said about him could be very mythological and very much have an agenda. Each of the gospel writers seemed to have an agenda as to what they presented and why. And it's almost at certain points, like the later gospel writers kind of correct the earlier ones. And that was kind of disturbing for my faith at the time. But the more I studied the life of Christ, the more it didn't make any sense. And I began to realize that these were very human accounts, did for different agendas. Now, you may be a theist watching this video and saying, aren't you kind of going in with your bias? Yes, I am. But that's no different than when I was a Christian going in with that bias. And so The issue for me is to demonstrate to you why the life of Jesus isn't all it's cracked up to be. I'm an atheist doing this Bible study, after all. A couple notes on who I'm using. I kind of purchased a Thomas and Gundry Harmony with the New American Standard Bible as the text. I'm using kind of their outline as a way of dealing with things, but I'll be looking at other Harmony of the Gospels, especially when there's a disagreement as far as the order of events or when an event took place. But I'm mostly using them to organize the material. They also give 13 parts, I believe, or 14. And I'm going to use that as far as my playlists as well. I'm going to have an overall playlist for this series, and then each of the parts will be divided up into its own playlist. So you can take each of them at your leisure. While I will be taking certain events one at a time, Gundry and Thomas have like 216 blocks of material that they divide the life of Christ into based on the text. And I think I can probably squeeze some of those together, combine them. And some could be very short indeed. Some of these videos might be very short. Some of them might be very long, depending on the content of what I'm dealing with. I might also have to, if it's something truly long, like the Sermon on the Mount, I'm probably going to have to break that up into pieces. So we're going to take this all at one bit at a time. But at the same time, this is a project that I'm actually very excited about. I was excited about it before. I just began to realize that there was a lot of flaws in the way I was doing it. And maybe this time I'll be a little less critical on myself, but also at the same time, I'm going to be going forward trying to make this, feel very much like you would have in a Sunday school class if you were taking Life of Christ in the church. But at the same time, I'm also putting forward the idea that, I'm an atheist doing this Life of Christ, looking back at it as I once did, and pointing out why this doesn't really work for me anymore. But mostly, I'm doing it for a lot of motivation in the fact that I think a lot of you people that believe this stuff need to understand that what you believe in has a very flawed foundation. And it's not just that the foundation of Jesus Christ himself is flawed, but the whole idea of whether the witnesses actually witnessed the events or these were just made up writings is a very real question. A couple other things on methodology. Last time I spent a lot of extra time in the beginning doing stuff about author and date. I'm not going to do that this time. I'll mention the author and date and the various questions about it at the first time. I'm not going to assume that. In fact, I'll probably throughout the series deal with early, later, whenever this gospel was writing, the different ways that it could look at it. But I'll pretty much talk about the author and date of the author and the book itself every time, the first time that it comes into the story. And that's kind of about it. I just want to spend some time here introducing this topic and introducing this series. I'm hoping that it'll be one of those series that's very, very enjoyable to all of you and generate some good discussion. But I'm going to teach the life of Christ again as an atheist, as if I was, back in my lectern, standing in front of a group of people and presenting the life of Christ once again. This might take some time, and I may break it up a little bit with other things, but I want to begin again, so to speak, and start over and do this again. With the growth of the channel, I think I'm reaching a larger audience with this, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for some time, and with all the questions late about the Gospels and things like that, that's kind of where I'm moving forward. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I appreciate every like, share, and subscribe. You guys are awesome. It makes this channel really worth it. I appreciate all of that. There are many ways to support the channel and its mission to normalize atheism and deconversion, particularly to atheism and deconversion in general. You can drop some financial support through my PayPal link. You can also, super chat, super thanks are always available. But the best way you can do it is membership. The monthly support allows me to do video series, particularly like this one. In fact, if you're considering whether you should be a member or not, understand that your sponsorship of this channel allows me to do stuff like this. Bible studies have a tendency not necessarily to generate the kind of revenue, particularly ad revenue, that other things that I do on this channel do. So if that's your jam, wanting to support stuff like this, then consider membership. There's different levels. Just hit that join button And I want to give a shout out to the members I currently have. Thank you to my citizens, to my Rabyd citizens, and to my tribunes. You guys are awesome. Appreciate your monthly support. Once again, this just makes things like this possible, where I can focus on doing the things I do the best without worrying about the YouTube algorithm so much. So thank you very much for you guys. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So make sure you're taking all your time, money, and opportunities and giving them to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.